I was very bad at school. So my name is Wasim Dbouk, and I'm a Marine and Maritime Policy Research Fellow at the University of Southampton. I'm part of the IDRIC project with colleagues at the University of Southampton, where we're looking at the transport of CO2 from industrial clusters like Southampton to other clusters in the UK with nearby geological storages. My role within that project is to look at the legal and regulatory framework governing the transport of CO2 by ships and pipelines, with view to make recommendations to overcome some of the barriers holding up progress around that technology. Sometimes looking back, I'm not sure how I ended up in the position that I'm in now. I come from a different country where I've studied in French and in Lebanese. I shifted from wanting to practice law as a lawyer to actually wanting to conduct legal research with colleagues in other disciplines to provide a more comprehensive solution to the problem that we're facing. When I came to Southampton, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I've always had a strong connection with the water. I grew up in a coastal town that's really famous for its ports and beaches, and I knew that I wanted to work with the water. But the picture didn't become clear until I started doing my PhD. The PhD period was really instrumental, finding where my role could be most influential and stepping outside of my comfort zone, expanding my horizon forcefully almost, just to satisfy that thirst for more knowledge, for what would actually make the biggest impact for us as humanity. I wasn't the biggest fan of scientific disciplines when I was studying at school. And I was always more interested in history or geography or philosophy. Not that I was good at them, but I was more interested in them. So I've always been practical and interested with humans and how we live and what drives us and how our philosophies have changed and continue to change. I was very bad at school. My brother is the first person of my family, my entire family, like extended family, to go to a university. There was definitely a barrier to break there in terms of even communicating with my own family around the things that I would like to achieve and how I wanted to achieve them. I felt like I was swimming against the current, even within my own family. And then looking at schools and the educational system and your environment, we end up believing the limits that we're seeing there. I think it's really important to appreciate educators and family in terms of the guidance that they offer, but I think we need to remember to look for our own purpose and to push for it, even when we feel a bit of resistance. So what is the average starting salary for someone in your position? As a research fellow who doesn't have lecturing responsibilities, I think the salary range would be different whether you're in London, of course, or somewhere else in the UK. For research fellows who are based outside of London, I would imagine the salary range to be around 30K mark for a research fellow. But if you're lecturing also on top of that, then it would jump to the 37, 38K per year sort of salary. Through securing more and more research grants, you're gonna be more and more prominent as an academic, and then you could charge for your consultancies basically, whereas as an early career researcher you see that as something that's so far off, is so difficult to reach, and you're surrounded by people who are so good at their jobs as well that it's a test of character to stay on that track because you believe in it. So as an individual who's really interested with sustainability and the future of our planet and the people on our planet, I think the highlight of my career so far was to travel to Glasgow last November and go to COP26 and getting a real sense of the global impact that the work that we're doing could have because of this diversity that I saw there. Most importantly, I think the focus on people and the focus on the impact of climate change on minorities and indigenous peoples and small island states. I think that was the most important thing for me out of that experience. I think the first thing that I would tell him would be, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to face barriers or to step outside of the conventional view that you might have about things. Trust your intuition, and always look to be aligned with your purpose.